Hey, FlimsyLunchTray here with you today, and today and tomorrow we're going to look a close look here at the Tier 9 Japanese cruiser, the Ibuki. So, I finished my grind on Mogami, immediately switched over, upgraded to the Ibuki, and I have to say it is much better than the Japanese light cruiser line. I definitely would take this ship any day over the Takahashi. I think that's, yeah, the Tier 9 light cruiser. So I want to go over some things with you on this ship. So I'm going to read a little bit from some WoW's wikis. I'll give you my thoughts and impressions on the ship and talking a little bit later on about this battle gameplay. The thing that's very funny, I do look at the WoW's wiki and seeing what the interesting things they have to say about this ship. And the first thing I questioned as soon as I looked at it is, the first sentence is, developed from the Mogami class ships, Ibuki retained the powerful artillery and torpedo armament of her predecessors, but received advanced armor and a reinforced AA system. So what does a reinforced AA system look like when you compare it among other Tier 9 cruisers in the game? Well, if you look at your tech tree, premium, test, and decorative, well, I guess there's nothing, test isn't represented in this ship tools graphic that I'm looking at. But out of 31 ships, Ibuki places 30th. So that's what you can expect from reinforced AA quote from the WoW's wiki. Sometimes you have to take those things with a pinch of salt. Now I'm discussing the ship overall. I'm just going to read the pros and cons they have listed here. I'll get into it. We'll crack that open and looking more at the ship line here, as I'm taking some cheeky shots on this enemy Owami here, who we're going to see later on more so. Pros: main battery, high explosive shells have higher damage and fire chance compared to other cruisers. Now what that means is when we're looking at these high explosive shells, they have a maximum damage of 3,300. They pin 34 millimeter. If you were to take IFHE, which I'm not entirely sure maybe why you would here, you could get up to 42 millimeter. But you got that 34 millimeter pin, which is good. And then your fire chance is 17%. That's without taking any other things that would increase that fire chance here on the Ibuki. The majority of the ship's turrets are mounted on the bow, and you have an ABC on the bow with the XY on the rear of the ship, but allowing her to fire most of her guns without exposing too much of her side. She carries a powerful torpedo armament with a high speed and good range, but that's going to have a little bit of a con attached to that as well. High top speed and quick rudder shift time allows the ship to dodge long-range fire with ease. Definitely true. One of the lowest surface detection of all Tier 9 cruisers. Now, there's some other Tier 9 cruisers that are outshining Ibuki. Ibuki's been in the game for quite some time at this point. Doesn't mean she's terrible, or that maybe per se she's been maybe somewhat a little power crept as time has elapsed with new ships being introduced to the game. But her concealment does allow you to have a 9.9 by sea and a 5.8 by air, which works nicely since your long-range air defense is 5.8. So as soon as any aircraft spot you, your AA is just about to fire. Cons: you have the lowest amount of hit points for a Tier 9 cruiser. Now again, I don't know if this still holds true when we're looking at the ship. With her health pool, if you did not take Survivability Expert on your commander, your survivability is going to be 39,000. If you do take, and this is with the upgraded hull B, then if survivability expert, that pumps you up to 43,050. If you're only on hull A on Ibuki, then your health pool is going to be 35,100. So you definitely need that hull upgrade as soon as possible. Here you get to see some of the A defense at work, which is just doing okay. Like Mogami, Ibuki will often suffer citadel hits whenever broadside to any similar-sized ship. I mean, that kind of goes with without knowledge, common knowledge. This is due to the ship's large citadel, which is located partially above the waterline. When you're looking at the ship, your citadel is going to stretch all the way from your forward main turret to the A turret, all the way back to the Y turret here in Mogami. So that is a significantly long citadel, especially when it takes up, you know, most of the real estate on the ship. And it's partially located above waterline. Main battery turrets have a sluggish reload time and traverse slowly. So if you did not take the 6-slot main battery modification 3, your reload time is going to be, I believe it's 13 seconds? Yes, 13 seconds. With a raw HE DPM of 152,308. If you've done what I've done, I've taken the main battery modification 3, which improves your main battery reload time by negative 12%, which is going to buff our reload time to 11.44 seconds without taking drone rush into account. And raw DPM is going to jump up with high explosive to 173,000, but a slight nerf on your turret traverse in exchange for taking that. Like her predecessors, the ship's torpedo armament is rear facing. This requires the ship to be broadside or facing away from a target to fire her torpedoes. So kind of the play style you have with Ibuki, which I should also make mention on these guns, which are 203mm guns. So you get 10 203mm guns. Your stock range, if you don't have the upgraded range, it is, where did it go? Just lost it. 15.04 kilometers. If you take the upgrade, the gunfire control system, it's going to bump up to 16.54. You have also access to the spotter plane, and we can talk more about that maybe in tomorrow's video. But with how this ship plays and performs, you're often playing very much a kiting role, which is what we're doing here. Now, ideally, we'd like to have a little bit more distance from this Iwami as we're kiting away here. As basically, we've been able to get a lot of defended ribbons, which we're now up to 24 defended ribbons, and just being able to kite away, which is similar to like the Zhao's playing experience as well. And you get to utilize, on the 4th slot, we have propulsion. So then when you get some further out, you can slow down, you can accelerate, and use that. Not that really, for me, not having rudder isn't a big deal on in the 4th slot. So as we have adrenaline rush kicking in, with that 17% chance of fire, you can see that we set 7 fires now, and this Iwami has been burning through a lot of his damage control parties. Here you can see we just simply swing the ship. We avoid the salvo from the Iwami, but we're already beginning to turn because of the carrier coming in. So you can see that with this AA, I mean, we've been attacked a couple times now. We've only shot down 4 planes. Your AA is poor. It's not great, especially when you're dealing with tier 10 carriers. You are definitely going to be bullied around, let alone super carriers if you see super ships and being bottom tier at the tier 9. So it's nothing to write home about. Now, one of the things that will often happen to you with these turrets, especially when you're kiting away, it happens to me quite frequently, is your rear main battery turrets being incapacitated. So I like running the main armaments modification 1, improving your main battery survivability, reducing the repair time, and also reducing the risk of the main battery becoming incapacitated, because we'll look at the armor scheme on these turrets tomorrow, but they will become frequently knocked out. So how Ibuki really shines here is that playing that kiting role. You can see as we've been kiting with these the torpedo firing angles, which are pretty miserable. We're throwing them in the direction of an enemy ship that's chasing us, like this Iwami who doesn't know when to stop, and he's been firing nothing but high explosive, which has been working out really well for us in this situation. It's also really nice having the repair party, just because that gives you the ability to fight in these longer engagements when you're going to be dealing with, I don't know how I want to phrase this, just longer fight within the game. So when you are playing Ibuki, you do have to be mindful that the ship play style is really, it's medium to long range. Now, your concealment being 9.9 really is favorable. Your torpedoes are 10 kilometers, so you could technically stealth fire torpedoes if you need to. but you can easily disengage. But pushing, brawling in the ship tends to lead to death. The first battle I played in Concealed Maneuvers, which is this game mode, by the way, I died really quickly because I just got caught out broadside by an Austin. So you can imagine how that went. But a lot of your playstyle is going to revolve around kiting. When an enemy team does a push, like the Awami pushed into us, we just simply kite using this really good 2 and 3 millimeter high fire chance shells that do decent damage. And we throw these hard-hitting torpedoes as well. So those torpedoes, you upgrade them. The stock ones do damage of 17,233 and have reload time of 101 seconds. The upgraded torpedoes will do almost 21,000 damage and 112 second reload time. Also seeing if there's a difference in the torpedo speed here as well. Yes, the stock ones are 62 knots, the upgraded ones are 67 knots, but your detectability range goes from 1.6 to 1.7, but with faster torpedoes, it kind of makes up. We don't really lose any reaction time. Now, here, because we've dealt with the Arami, we push back into the enemy team. I tend to, when you have players that are using a lot of their maneuverability, like our friend Takahashi is, you can see that we've switched to just kind of this single fire instead of salvo fires. It tends to be a little bit more beneficial in landing your shots. Here we've decided that we're going to use that concealment and go dark. The Des Moines decided to chime in, so we also have to be mindful that with the fire burning on the ship, our detectability is balloons, so it's 11.9 now versus now 9.9, so it adds that 2 kilometers, so you do need to be mindful of that. So you can also see we had a turret incapacitated, and those are just by, I think that was by the Des Moines with his 2 and 3 millimeter guns. Here you get a good example and window of that torpedo firing angles. So really poor. I was playing a game where I came across in Illinois. I'd already had 2 kills and wanted to get rid of him. He was the last ship on the flank. So I had to pull a broadside maneuver to get those torpedoes off right, which I knew it was a risk doing so, as Illinois had only been spamming high explosive, but he was wise enough to switch to AP and just one-shotted me as I had, like, I think less than half health. But we did get him and a kill along the way. So you have to understand that you cannot, you have to respect the fact that not get greedy with your torpedoes. Only use them when situation allows for it. Now it's nice that you have these 4 racks, right? 2 on each side of the ship. So that's really helpful when you're kiting and you're throwing 8 torpedoes that do almost 21,000 damage, max damage each. That's quite phenomenal. Or this ship is just simply not going to fare well when you have to be aggressive or brawl. This isn't a brawling ship by any means. Now you do have the hydroacoustic search, which we were using. The Awami has some torpedoes on him, and we're also being mindful of Takahashi's torpedoes also. Your hydroacoustic search is a 5 kilometer of ships and 3.5 kilometer of enemy or torpedoes. So that's helpful in having that, especially if you're dealing with a destroyer that's hunting you. Here we don't have it, the hydroacoustic search right now, but I'm quite positive that Takahashi is going to be throwing a lot of torpedoes our way. So I'm going to want to use the hydroacoustic search as soon as it comes off of cooldown, as we reach our 8th plane kill. So letting my teammates know that I will have Hydro up here shortly as we continue to push in with Takahashi. Now, in comparison, and how do I like the ship? I think it's okay. It's definitely better than to Takahashi, in my opinion, which feels like you're really having to rely on your torpedoes to do anything in terms of meaningful damage. You have a faster rate of fire as well with these 2 and 3 millimeter guns versus what you get on the Takahashi. So for myself, I really appreciate what I get out of the Ibuki versus Takahashi. I think the Japanese cruiser line, light cruiser line that has a longer reload than the heavy cruiser line, is a bit of a travesty, in my opinion, and that definitely is in need of some reworking there. So yes, general opinion is that I think the ship's okay. She's not a tier 9 ship that I'm going to be going out of my way to play. If I'm being honest, I'll be playing a lot more of my other tier 9 ships over Ibuki. You know, I would prefer playing Neptune or Buffalo over Ibuki. You know, that's not even referencing, you know, premium ships at cruisers at tier 9, like, you know, Alaska or Schroeder or the Aegir that I also prefer playing, would prefer playing over Ibuki. Here, we're going to just take some blind shots at the enemy CV. He's pretty much sailing a straight line, so hopefully we'll get some more additional hits here and pick up another cap and giving some more base XP before the game draws to a close. So we were good. We did get a 1 hit there, but not any damage. Other things to make note of the ship, well, I'll talk more about it in tomorrow's upgrading commander build video and giving you my thoughts and recommendation. You know, one of the skills you're kind of be looking at is the eye in the sky, which gives you 2 additional spotters, and your spotting aircraft consumable cooldown time reduces by -50%. To me, that's pretty important to have here on the Ibuki. I don't have that. I'm training up a new commander for this line, so I have a 13-point commander, but not the 15-point commander that would require. So it's pretty straightforward build in general when we look at this ship. She's not too difficult to figure out. In terms of having a meaningful impact on the game, I wouldn't say Ibuki is a carry ship by any means. She is going to rely on your teammates giving you assistance and helping out. Like I needed my team to be able to win the Northeastern cap, the C cap, B cap for me to just take my time in whittling down the Iwami, get some resets on the Takahashi, because otherwise, if you understand that the ship's limitations, it'll fare you well in that you're just going to be playing a more passive kiting role in most cases with this ship. So we're going to post battle results, 159,000 damage. I took a red XP booster, so that gave us that 77,000 XP, as I wanted to grind the ship before concealed maneuvers left us. I think it actually left maybe late last night, early hours this morning. So I want to get the most out of it. So the 22 defended ribbons as well, really nice. We're going to top the team with 2,686 in base XP. We complemented the San Martin and the Mecklenburg. They did really well, especially in having to help us win the northern flank. And then here you can see that a fire did 36,000 damage. The HE itself did 122,000. You don't want to sleep on the, and you see how much AA we lost too. You do not want to sleep on the AP. I've had some Citadel Savos with these 200mm guns, so do use them. If you didn't get an example really well to use them in this video, if the Takahashi had been a little bit closer, I probably would have been cheeky with that. Sometimes I'm actually fighting, I don't have it on this yet. But in terms of having a gun feeder, you know, I maybe find some room that you want to have this when you're switching between your armor piercing high explosive, because again, these are 2 and 3 millimeter guns. The AP in particular, the max damage it does is 4,700 and has a 246,000 raw DPM if you had the main battery modification in the 6th slot. So that's going to bring our video to a close. Let me know what you think of Ibuki. Do you like Ibuki? How do you feel she does now in the game versus when she first came into the game quite some years ago? I think she's okay. Definitely better than maybe just a handful of other tier 9 cruisers in the game. But in the current meta, a little bit of a challenge, I would say, to play. Not as challenging as Takahashi, for sure. But she plays this kiting passive role, maybe some, rather similar to, shoot, what are the names? The Azuma and the Yoshino, right? Azuma not getting torpedoes though. Yoshino do getting torpedoes, but constantly going broadside. I love Yoshino players, especially when I'm playing battleships. So that's going to be it for today. Tomorrow we'll do the upgrading commander build video on the Ibuki. So if you liked this video, give it a thumbs up. If you didn't, give it a thumbs down. Subscribe if you do want to see more. If you subscribe, thanks so much. I would appreciate it. And we'll catch you next time. Take care.